Hello and welcome to the channel. This has been a long time overdue for me. Um, had a few things going on with this collection of the Wakanda figures, but sorted that out now. So today we'll be looking at Black Panther and the characters associated with the character. So we're coming to the central platform first, and as you can see, you'll see Black Panther in the center, and they're all posed out, and this is how they looked in my display at this time. And I quite like their cat-like poses. And that guy there is classic comic book Black Panther, but I kind of think of him as Prince T'Challa's father in my mind, but he is Black Panther as he did appear in the comics. So what I'll be doing with these guys is changing out their hands and their heads so you can see what they look like. And there's a chance I might do a bit of a combat fight with some of these characters. But if not, I'll do that in a part 1 review. But I'm just going to get some close-ups on these guys. And I do like these figures. And as always, what I tend to do when they first come out, I fight buyer's fever and wait till they drop down in price, and then I pick them up. And I can say I did that for all these figures, and I quite like the fact that I got all these around the half price mark, because they normally retail around £28. So that's those on that platform, and then we're going to come down to these guys. And again with these guys, I bided my time and I got them cheap. So let's see if we can go through a few names. And I believe that's Nakia, the girlfriend of Prince T'Challa. And this is Okia, I think. Forgive my pronunciation if I've got that wrong. But she's in charge of the security forces of Wakanda and is responsible for the protection of the royal family. And I don't know her human name, but she's known as Ironheart. And she kind of reminds me of a Transformer, but if you watch Wakanda Forever, she appears in the film, and I wasn't really a big fan, but the figure was cheap and I bought it. And that tech suit is kind of like a bit of an Iron Man suit. And then at the back, we've got M'Baku of the Mulbari tribe, or the Gorilla tribe, who in the first film challenged Prince T'Challa as ruler of Wakanda. And then we come back to this section and we've got Eric Killmonger, who challenges Prince T'Challa for the throne of Wakanda and is victorious. And then we've got Black Panther himself, Prince T'Challa. And then we've got his sister, Shuri, who takes over the role of Black Panther when Prince T'Challa dies. And of course, I've already mentioned this guy, classic Black Panther. So I'm going to change out a few things and show you what they look like with the different head sculpts or hands. So let's see what we can come up with. So I've dealt with this platform first because it was a lot easier to get these things changed out. And we'll come first to Prince T'Challa, and he's got that head sculpt on, but he does come with some fighting fists, and you'll see that. Not a bad likeness. And he's got the version of the suit which has got, I think it's the vibranium, so if you fire any kind of energy shots at him, that suit absorbs that and then throws it back at you. So I love that suit. Well, I wouldn't mind just getting the pure black version, but this is good enough. And sadly, the actor Chadwick Boseman passed away, and he was brilliant. You see him first in the Avengers Civil War, and And when he died and they did Wakanda Forever, that was pretty much a tribute film to him, and rightly so, because Black Panther was grossing the most money at that time and won some Oscars. So it's sad that he's not here. He was brilliant, and he'd be sadly missed. And I watched him in another film in which he played a detective, and I really liked him in that, and I just wish the guy was around. And it's a sad loss for the world and his family. And then there's Eric Killmonger, that's his head sculpt, and I like that as well. And with Suri, all I've done is given her fighting fists because she doesn't have a head sculpt. But at some point, probably tomorrow, I will be posing her out fighting Namor, which you'll see in a few minutes. And then classic Black Panther, I put in his fighting fists. So what we'll do next is go on to platform 2 and change them out, and I'll just remind you of what they look like at the moment. And there they are. And then we'll come up to this guy. I didn't ignore him because I do like this guy. Got him cheap. Prince Namor, also known as Kukulkan Khan. And with him, he's not my comic book Namor, because the Namor in the comic books, if you are a Star Trek fan from the 60s, he had a head a bit like a Vulcan, like Mr. Spock. And the wings at his ankles are correct, but that javelin there was a trident. But I think what the filmmakers decided was it was going to be a bit too close to Aquaman look, so they gave him this look. But we'll talk more about him in the review later on. But I'll pause it now and I'll change out the heads of Nakia and Ironheart. So that's the head change out basically. And I have posed her for a very long time with this head sculpt because I do think it's very good at this level. But I had to put her in the helmet because it's good to use that look from time to time. And I love the design of the suit. And here is Ironheart. And I apologise, I forgot the name of her character. But I know she's got her own TV series. But from what I hear from the fans, they're not all that impressed. Now I've heard that they are going to return to doing the Black Panther movie. And if you remember Wakanda Forever, you realise that Prince T'Challa's girlfriend, Nakia here, has a son with him. So probably he's going to be the next guy in line for that role. But at the end of the day, we'll just see what the future brings. So I'm going to change out the hands of the Black Panther character and Eric Killmonger. And then I'll take Suri and classic Black Panther off the platform and see where we can take it from there. So we'll stay tuned. So I've changed out the hands of both of these figures and coming to Prince T'Challa. He's got his fighting fists in. I do like him in this pose. I've had him in this pose in the past, and it's nice, dynamic, a poster pose as I would call it. And then with Eric Killmonger, I've changed out his hands. His claws are more like gripping claws now, because he does come with a couple of weapons. But then when I pose these two fighting each other, I sneakily change out one of those claws and put it in the hand of Prince T'Challa, so I can create the combat poses with these two. And I think we're going to get that in today. But as for the fight I want to do with Suri and Kukulkan Khan, aka Namor, I think I'll save that for part 2 of this review. But I like the way this looks on camera. I'll just get some angle shots. Really like that. There's a nice contrast between the two, but I like the way they do come across. So I'm going to put a weapon in Eric Killmonger's hand and one in Prince T'Challa's, because as I said, I will use one of those hands and put it in that side so he can also hold a weapon. So let's pause that and see what that looks like. So that's mission accomplished. It was a bit fiddly diddly with Prince T'Challa, but I managed to do it. Now we're coming close on Eric Killmonger. I've changed that hand and put it with Prince T'Challa so he can grip that weapon, because this figure comes with both that sort of, well, kind of a combination of a sword and a club type thing, African weapon, and he also came with that spear, but I wanted to create a dynamic when these two fight, so I had to do the hand change. But unless you've got radar eyes, you wouldn't notice, but they do look good together. I'm going to get them posed out with these weapons, but first of all I'm going to swap them over just to see what that looks like on camera. So I've swapped the weapons over and got them into sort of combat poses, and coming close on Black Panther there. Do like that effect. He looks good with either weapon. He didn't come with weapons, but in order to do these combat fights that he has with Eric Killmonger, as I just said, I've had to swap out one of his fighting fists for Eric Killmonger's gripping hand. And that guy, Michael B. Jordan, has just won an Oscar for Best Actor in the film Sinners. I have a huge DVD collection. I've got just about everything MCU and DC, but not just that. I've got things from Lord of the Rings to Game of Thrones to comedies, all sorts. And I bought Sinners, and I'm not saying it wasn't a bad film. It was good. It had a bit of originality to it, but I've seen this theme before, in which a group of vampires attacks an establishment out in the middle of nowhere. And I saw that in a film called From Dusk Till Dawn by Quentin Tarantino. So I understand why it won, but all that hype around it I didn't understand. But so nonetheless, well done to him. He's a great actor. Watched him in Creed. He's brilliant and he's a really good actor, and he seems like a nice guy. So let's see if we can get these two in a combat pose, fighting each other. Okay, so they're squaring up to each other now. Eric Killmonger is challenging Black Panther for the throne of Wakanda. And let's turn the dynamic or the angle to that. Not bad. And we come over onto the other side. And they seem to look better when you pose them like this, fighting each other with their head sculpts. But I will show you them in their masks, but we'll just pause that for the next one. So this is what I call my classic contact pose. You can see those weapons actually touching. I'll swing it around to give you a point of view over the shoulder of Prince T'Challa. Let's see if I can get a better one than that. No, that weapon is obscuring Eric Killmonger's face, but this is an average one for me, for my standards. But I'm trying to show you guys the articulation of the figures, and that doesn't look too bad from that point of view if you keep that weapon off the face of the Black Panther. Let's see if we can improve on that, because I'm all about improvement. This is just me in my imagination trying something. Combat mode is okay, but it's not really a fight sequence that makes sense. It's just me trying something out. I'm going to just change this one now very quickly. It was just me being curious. I'll keep Prince T'Challa the same, but I'm going to change out Eric Killmonger there. Not bad, but this isn't the right pose for this overall effect. So let's carry it on from here. So this is more in the ballpark for me. But what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do any more poses as such. I'm just going to keep these two as they are, but just move them from different positions on the platform just to see those angle shots and see what they look like on camera. Then I'm going to put on the masks and carry it on from there. So okay, let's move the positions of these figures. You've got the back of Black Panther to the camera. As I say, I'm not afraid to do poses like this in my display with the figures with their backs to me. I'm looking at the overall dynamic. Come over the shoulder of Prince T'Challa, Black Panther. Okay, bit out of focus there, but I apologise for that. That looks better. Okay, let's move it on very quickly. I might try this shot, see what this looks like. Okay, that's not too bad. Right then, let's get on with the next pose. And then I'm going to put the masks on. So this is the final one with the head sculpts. And they're both in the one knee pose. Just going over the shoulder of Black Panther. Not bad. Let's go over the shoulder of Eric Killmonger. That's a better one for me. I will keep these poses and I'll just put the masks on them just to see what that's like. I might change out their weapons, swap them over, just to make it interesting for you, the viewers or viewer. Okay, let's try that one. Okay, so the masks are now on. I guess, if I'm honest, this is how I like to see them. But I don't mind those head sculpts because they do look good on the figures. Let's come around to the other side. And I'm going to change the weapons over. I'm going to swap them over just to show you what that looks like. Let's bring it back to center. I'll swap the weapons over now, see what that looks like. So swap the weapons over and they look good either way, it doesn't matter to me. I'm going to get them off the one knee pose and have them on the 2 feet of the figures, and they can be still making a contact pose. But we'll see what happens. Nearly coming to the end of this review. Just getting some close-up shots. That's not a bad shot. Okay, let's get them on the feet and do something a bit more interesting. This is standard for me. It's a long time since I've posed these guys. And I had them on camera before, but that camera was inferior. Didn't have very good resolution or definition. So let's see what they look like standing up. Okay, not bad. 4 out of 10 for me. I'm very tough on myself. But not bad. I'm going to finish with one more then, where it's proper close contact. Let's get a close one up on these guys. Okay. Let's do one more then with a proper decent combat pose. So this is the last one, guys and girls. Contact pose there. And Black Panther is thrusting towards Eric Killmonger. He's parried that spear with his knife type thing, or should I say sword type thing, African sword weapon. and it looks quite good like that. If you get in close, I like that. I'm going to keep this pose now, spend a minute at least turning them around into different positions on the platform, just to see what the angles look like. So let's change them slightly on the platform. So that's a slight movement in the pose, but the actual shape of the pose is the same. Liking that there. Looks good. Love the colours on Black Panther with the vibranium, and I do love the colours on Eric Killmonger Black Panther. So let's move it around to another position, see what that looks like. So now Eric Killmonger has his back to camera. This is going to be a couple of seconds because I know I'm not going to finish on this shot. But I do like those spots on the back of the figure and the detail. And that's not too bad. But let's finish with something interesting and leave it there. Right then, here we go. So this is the last one, guys. I've actually got proper combat contact. The claws of Eric Killmonger are gripping the claws of Black Panther, and that is not too bad. And it'd be interesting to see what the new Black Panther film will be, with the change of the MCU world and things going on internally and politically. Let's hope they don't disappoint the fans. I'm also a big DC fan, so I've been hearing some news about Zack Snyder possibly returning to the Justice League storyline, which I hope they do, because the fans did support him on that one. I know that man tragically lost his daughter. I believe her name was Autumn, and I'm sorry for his loss. He made a great movie, but at the end of the day, it all is part of the circle of life, and it's sad that Chadwick Boseman is no longer with us. But I think if you're going to do justice, not just to him, but the other fantastic actors in that film, they'll give us something good. So on that note, I'll pose these guys out enough, and I'll say thanks for watching the channel. And on part 2 of the Black Panther review, you won't see these guys. It will be Sudi, his sister, going up against Kukulkan Khan, Prince Namor, or King Namor. But he's not my comic book Namor, but at the end of the day, he was only $5.99 for me. So at the end of the day, I will give it a go on the combat poses. I had some good ones with them too. Try and revisit them again and see what that looks like with the new high resolution camera. So on that note, I'll say thanks for watching the channel, and I'll see you again soon.